Make a habit of empathy, to recognize ourselves in each other.
My name is Mary Madrigal, Dr. Mary Madrigal. I'm from Orange County, California. I specialize in psychosis and schizophrenia. I work with people who have chronic mental health issues. I am a clinical coordinator for a psychiatric clinic in Orange County that provides mental health services. What comes to mind for me is a woman named Judy who had a 40-year history of schizophrenia, and she also had been diagnosed with small cell lung cancer. And I was asked to sit with her as she was going through the dying process. And what came to mind for me is the lack of empathy in the nursing home she was in. She would go running down to the nurse's station with her shoulders raised up, gasping for air, asking if she could have a breathing treatment. And the nurse would not even look up at her. And what she told her was, it's not time for your breathing treatment right now. And it just really, it pained me to see a human being being treated that way. I became an advocate for Judy and really became the voice for her. That when people wouldn't listen to her, then I would advocate for her. You know, she needed a breathing treatment or she wanted a battery in her room changed in the clock, and they wouldn't do anything for her. So it's like I came alongside of her to help her.
So what part was the empathy there? Do you feel it was that they weren't empathizing with her, that you were empathizing?
Yeah,
or?
I think it was both. I think the lack of empathy really was not even seeing her as a human being, but mostly just that she was a schizophrenic. And my empathy was at how it pained me to see a human being being treated that way, with not even any respect to look up at her, to say, how can I comfort her? I mean, she really was at the end of her life, and she only lived a few weeks after that. But how could we better provide quality care for her? I think a lot of times when people hear the term schizophrenia, that they don't even consider that there's a human being that is attached to that. And so I think we need to be more empathetic for people, whether they have had schizophrenia or anything else in life, whether it's depression or just struggles. But we really need to improve our empathy overall.
And how would that look? How would to deepen our empathy for people in that situation? What would that look like?
Just like all of us when we're struggling, we want someone to sit with us, to talk to us, to acknowledge us, to ask us, how can I help you? What I noticed that there wasn't any of that. It was a lot of disregarding her, just like she was a problem. And I think if we could improve anything, it would be to have mental health professionals be involved in end-of-life care for people who have severe, complex mental health issues. Absolutely. I think because the mental health professionals understand where maybe people who have not been trained in that might not. So we could provide the care for her that she needed. If she's afraid, we all want to be comforted when we're afraid. And that's being empathetic. I just have noticed that there's a lot of lack of empathy. Yeah.
So what role has empathy played in your life? Is from childhood till now, is there a bit of a narrative of how you've learned about empathy and any moments?
Sure. I think the greatest thing that I've learned, especially once I became a therapist, was initially I really wasn't very empathetic, to be honest. I mean, I think that I looked at people as just a label. Once I got more involved with humanistic existentialism, I began to be really challenged by my mentors to say, when was the last time you looked into the eyes of the people that are sitting across from you? And to be honest with you, I hadn't. All I seen was this label. When I went back to the clinic, I started to really look at who is sitting across from me? How can I really get to know this person? And it really made my empathy grow tremendously. So now I see people as human beings, not just a label.
Do you have a metaphor of your own that comes to mind that
With
you could
empathy?
create? Yeah, what
joining. I think the word joining. It's like when I was with Judy, I really joined with her. The things that she wasn't able to talk about, I could advocate for her. I could ask for the staff to be a little bit more empathetic with her. But if I think of one word, it would be joining. just to be with her, to truly be with her in her time of suffering.
Is there some kind of an image that comes to mind of, for example, if joining or empathy
What does
was,
that-
yeah, was like a type of animal or a type of land or some kind of a process, something like that, what would that be?
You know what it comes to mind for me is two people sitting together, no words needing to be spoken. Just two people being together. What could that look like? Maybe two little kittens that are sitting together, just being together, or a mother and a small child just being together, just to be present with each other.
And the opposite of empathy, what would that be like?
Someone sitting all alone, or someone sitting there and reaching out, and people just walk by. They don't acknowledge them. It's like they're non-existent. Yeah, which is to me the epitome of lack of empathy, is that we don't even acknowledge that there's a human being there. And I've actually seen a lot of that in the work that I've done, and that I continue to do at the clinic even, is how can I bring empathy into the clinic that I work in. I just think that it would be wonderful if rather somebody has schizophrenia, a diagnosis, that we would actually just see the person first and foremost and not get caught up in the label that's attached to their name.